Good morning and welcome to this new video where we go into the post-match talk of that Manchester United convincing victory over Crystal Palace in our first game of the Carabao Cup. Very convincing in every nature because Manchester United dominated every department of that game. There was a big change in squad, but it did not look shaky at all because Man United obviously has done a lot of work behind the scenes. Welcome to the hotspot. My name is Webb. Now, guys, there is a lot we learned from our most convincing win this season so far. And if we can pick up on this in the next games we are having, Man United will look so unplayable. 3-0 goals coming through from Anthony Martial. Of course, he did score a rare goal. They have been eluding him for quite some time. Our current top scorer as a club, even interesting to say, that is Casemiro, was also on the score sheet in that one, an exciting one, but also the youngster Alejandro Garnacho was first to put us forward. But United's win altogether for me looked so convincing. You can tell me your opinion about it. Who impressed you most? But guys, so many players impressed for Manchester United. But for me, the one thing I was impressed in most was the unit. First of all, we played so well and so comfortably. For the first time, we saw what we are expecting to see from Erik ten Hag, players playing with conviction and confidence. That was so important because it has been lacking in our team for the longest time. Give it to them. They have improved a lot, and they did now deal with the Crystal Palace the way they should at Old Trafford. But for me, what I think in terms of individuals, who excited me the most, and I will tell you, so many of our players were good, but oh goodness, isn't Sofian Amrabat such a baller? He came in there, and I've been saying this for the longest time. The balance that was lacking in our midfield was all going to be solved by Sofian Amrabat, and thank goodness he did not disappoint. Amrabat was the organizer in that team. He sort of gave Casemiro confidence to release him, and he would go forward without worries because Amrabat was there to cover him. But his ball distribution as well, his vision, some long passes, the short passes, his movements, his communication and organizing and pointing. I feel like Sofian Amrabat is giving us a little bit of what Declan Rice is giving Arsenal, and Amrabat is going to be such an important player for Manchester United. I just pray and hope that he keeps fit because he is such an organizer. We played a different formation, looked like a 4-3, rather a 3-4-2-1 or a 3-4-3 formation, but with a broken down, two playing behind Anthony Martial, who was leading the line. So we had literally no natural wingers, per se, because Medbury, Hannibal, and Mount were both playing behind. There were two playing behind, Anthony Martial, and then a line of four with Amrabat, Casemiro, Amrabat a little on the best, then Garnacho and Pelistri. My goodness, we looked balanced. I feel we looked exciting and we looked comfortable. I feel like this could even our backline. Harry Maguire, who was manning the backline, looked so comfortable because he's a passer of the ball. He's a ball distributor. That's his style of defending. Rafael Varane there, Diogo Dalot on the right. We have not been as comfortable as this in any single game for a long time. So for me, that was a huge positive. But for Amrabat, I feel, and people were talking about this before, should Amrabat be a backup for Casemiro or a starter? You had your answer there. Amrabat belongs to the pitch, belongs to the starting squad. He should be the first one to shield the backline in that's in our games. So for me, Amrabat was, for me, our most outstanding player. He was the linchpin on which everything we did was spinning. He was the organizer. Give it to him. Two, Casemiro was good. I thought Casemiro, like I said, Amrabat made Casemiro look good. He made Casemiro look like Casemiro. I felt he was under less pressure. He was more confident. He thought a lot about going forward. I felt, thanks to Amrabat, Casemiro looked even, better. The Casemiro we know. Mason Mount. Okay, we've always been asking ourselves why Erik ten Hag has been, for the longest time, fascinated by Mason Mount, but I think we saw the fascination, I think, in that game. That was by far Mason Mount's best game. I don't know whether it was because of the competition that these players were looking confident, or is it that they had a thing to prove, but Could it be the formation that suited them? Was it a lack of pressure? Because I think the pressure should have been there because there was a rotation, but also they're playing against a Premier League opponent. We have never had easy games or comfortable games. We did look so comfortable, and Mason Mount was running around and enjoying himself, expressing himself. He had his first direct involvement in a goal with that corner that led to the Casemiro header. But for me, I think what this showed us for me is that actually we have a decent squad. We've got a little bit of depth in our squad. If Eric Ten Hag can know how to use these players, because imagine Marcus Rashford, and I'm talking about our most comfortable victory, but Marcus Rashford wasn't in there. Garnacho was the one starting running on the left, but not in the same formation. But can you say we missed Marcus Rashford? In fact, for me, to be honest, I would easily be compelled to start this squad against any team in the Premier League. I would be compelled to start this squad. Maybe I'll replace Anthony Martial with Rasmus Højlund up front, or maybe drop in a Bruno Fernandes in place of Hannibal. But we looked so comfortable. And for me, that's so important. So what we learned in that game is that Amrabat is going to be a very important player for Manchester United. He gives us balance in that squad. I've been saying it. You saw what I meant. Then another thing we learned is that perhaps we do not have to always play that 4-3-3 formation. It does not exactly suit all our players. I think if the manager can be able to switch formations around, he might be able to make use of so many of his players, but also he might realize the depth we've got in this squad because it does make sense. It also was clear that in certain games, a back three clearly can do us good. A back three can do us good because we pass the ball a little more playing as a back three, but also it does as if add an attacking player and release our players going forward. So it makes us look more of a threat, I think. So for me, that's very important. But that win against Crystal Palace, for me, meant a lot of things because we dominated possession, 69% against 31%. Very exciting. Goal attempts, we had 13 goal attempts. That should be the most we've had in a single game. 7 shots on goal. That and one off goal, but 7 shots on goal. That was exciting. We forced Crystal Palace to block 5 shots. We had 7 free kicks. That was quite interesting. 7 corner kicks against nothing, meaning we are compact in our defense as well because we are not giving away corners because Crystal Palace did not have a single corner in this game. Guys, think about these details in this game and see how good actually, and I've been saying it here before, that actually our players show us at times that they are not as bad as they make us look sometimes. So for me, it was such an exciting performance. What I would take from this game as we go back into the Premier League and the Champions League talk: one, change of formation can be important. We don't have to be stuck on the 4-3-3 or 4-2-3-1 formation. That does not give our players the best atmosphere to perform. 2, we need to cut Harry Maguire some slack. He's not the biggest of problems. I felt like he looked so confident and yet he was playing in a back three. I could have exposed him, but also I think that the presence of Amrabat there helped him as well. I actually think Maguire is going to be an important player for us. Let's give him that chance and be positive about him. What other thing do we learn in this game? I think we also learned that Pelistri will be such an important player for United. When he gets the opportunities, he does what he's supposed to do. Spacing himself, picking up that long pass from Amrabat several times. Of course, many times he was playing negative and being forced to control the ball while looking back. But it's okay. He's a young player. He will be able to properly adjust in future so that he can be able to actually get the ball while thinking of going forward. Because that's him. His instinct is always charging forward to goal. But it takes confidence. So those are some of the positives you can talk about for me in Manchester United in that game. Who was the best player for me? The person who changed it for us is Sofyan Amrabat. Mount had a beautiful game. I thought for me, Amrabat is the guy. Amrabat was the guy. So man of the match for me, to my eyes, as a United supporter, totally biased Manchester United player of the day, who excited me most. For me, it was Sofyan Amrabat, and I just love the sound of it. I just love saying it. So let me know what you think. Player ratings, I would give Amrabat a cool 8 out of 10. I would give Mason Mount a 7.5. I would drop a in a 7 for Casemiro. And you can imagine, I would give a 7 to Harry Maguire. Rafael Varane, who was, substituted off later, I would give him a cool 7. Diogo Dalot was confident and impressive. I would give him a 7. I mean, most of our players were, I think, be above average. The entire team. You cannot single out one player who didn't do nothing. You cannot. So it was such a good team victory. Our most convincing win of the season. What does this mean? Does it mean now our opponents should know what's coming? Hotspot, subscribe. My name is Webb. I will be catching you later. Those are the things I learned and observed from our victory over Crystal Palace. What did you observe? Subscribe and let me know.